Hi, I'm Amirun. I'm running a series on leadership. Today I'm here with John Busby. John has been running his own business for 25 years. So John, would you be able to tell me some highlights that have shaped your career?
Yeah, I'd be more than happy to. Is it okay if I call you Amy?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, sure. Good, okay. Yeah, no, I'd be happy to. So far away. What would you like to know?
What service, so if we start off, what service does your business provide?
Well, I've got two business interests, Amy. One is I've got a management consultancy that helps people with their business development, particularly where there's complexity in the technology space. Okay. I'm also building some software specifically to help people who have billable resources. You know, so if you've got, say, a load of professional services people who implement software, so these are resources, if you like, to use that expression, that you set out to bill other people for. So all of the organisation of that, that's what that software is designed to do.
Can you give me an example of a project that you've worked on?
Well, absolutely I can, yes. There's in fact, we've got a current, what we call an alpha customer, an early adopter customer that we're working with, and they run an organisation specifically to help people with their board evaluations. And they've got a whole range of people that they work with, lots of associates. And one of the things that they have to do is to make certain that they've got the right skill levels. And particularly if you're working with people who are not on your payroll, how do you validate them? How do you make certain that they're the right people to represent you and their customers? And that's what we're working with them to help them develop that capability in our software, which is, to use the expression currently, in the cloud. It's a software as a service, so it's a subscription-based opportunity for people to work with that kind of software. So that's what I do.
Oh, it's fantastic. Sounds very interesting. You've noted here that Nelson was one of the people that inspired you.
Well, yes. I mean, one of the things you asked me to prepare for was, who had inspired me. Yeah. And I don't think there's any one person, but a number of people. In fact, lots of people. But we rather than go through a big list, what I would propose is to take three. So, Horatio Lord Nelson. Okay, so that is now. I didn't actually know him personally, but from what I have read and from what I've studied, one of the things that distinguished him was his ability to get his leadership team to essentially volunteer their commitment to him. Although he had positional power, they wanted to do the best for him because of the way he inspired them. So that's a great leadership lesson, I think. If you can get people to achieve the objectives that you're looking to achieve through their voluntary commitment, then that is at the highest level of leadership.
Yes,
in my
yes, and gone are the days where you used to tell people what to do.
Well, I mean, I don't know that those days have gone.
They're supposed to be doing.
But if those days are going to go, then somehow whoever is doing the leading has to find a way to do that inspiration. Now, that is not an easy thing to do.
No.
And that's why personally I find it quite interesting, is because it's a challenging thing to do, at least for me it is.
Yes.
And so
I think that's how talent management more is now, that you're encouraging people to find what they want to do and deliver what they want, rather than telling them this is what they have to do.
That's right. And then I've also mentioned Roy Salvadori. Now that's many, to those who perhaps are not familiar, I've got a big background in motorsport, and Roy Salvadori was a very successful businessman, but he was also a very successful racing driver. Okay. He won the Le Mans in 1959. But he was my first boss. And one of the things I learned from Roy was the fact that he was a very good businessman, and he drummed into me the importance of getting the contact details of any prospect that you came across. And that's kind of been in here ever since. Yes. So that was him there.
Do you think it's as important now with getting contact details because the world is so much smaller and you can connect with people in so many different ways, whereas when you first learned it would have been slightly different?
Well, that's a good question, but far better if you meet somebody and they volunteer their contact details, rather than say, I found you on LinkedIn, and nothing wrong with that in itself. But if you and I meet for the first time, and our conversation leads to you saying to me and me saying to you, let's exchange details, then it's part of this volunteer business, really. So that was Roy. And then the third one I wanted to highlight was John Imlay. He was the president of MSA, Management Science America. I worked for Management Science America in the mid to late 80s.
Okay.
And it's a company that was based in Atlanta, Georgia, a big software company. Did a lot of work with IBM.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing about John was that he was great to go out with. Most people say, oh, I don't want to go out with my manager, that's the last thing. But he never, ever disempowered you. In fact, quite the reverse. He was a very empowering person to be with. You know, when we prepared for the meeting, he'd say, okay, so what do you want me to do?
Mm-hmm.
And the great thing was that when you'd worked out what you were going to do together, he actually stuck to the script. There were plenty of examples where managers would go in and essentially, sort of say, well, what my person really meant was the following.
Yes.
But he never did that, and he was a very empowering and a very inspiring person to be with. So if you look at the three, you've got how do you make certain that you can achieve the objectives that you want to achieve through the voluntary commitment of people, cooperation of people. How do you make certain that you acquire and keep the contact details of the people that you meet, and then how do you ensure that you empower those people who are working with you so that they're coached and they develop rather than just being taken over. So those three qualities, and they're challenging qualities to put into place because they're easy to do when you're sitting like this, right? But when you're under pressure, that meeting is the crunch meeting, and you want to get the signature on the contract or whatever, and it's not going well, and you still don't disempower. That's very, very critical piece. So those are the three.
So what do you enjoy about what you do?
Well, I enjoy lots of things, but I think the thing that inspires me most is the fact that actually you're dealing with people. And although the scenarios might be the same, the people are different. And so the scenarios are always, it's a bit sort of plus a même chose, really, in the sense that, it's the people that make the difference. And that means that you're never quite certain exactly what's going to happen. And that puts a slight edge to it, and then challenges you for all the leadership things we've just been speaking about. So that's the thing that I think I enjoy more than anything else.
It's the interaction, I guess.
Most of the time.
It's the learning that you get.
Absolutely, and learning all the time. It's never once and done.
So, John, have you made any investments in yourself?
What, in my own sort of development?
Yes, for your development.
Well, I was very fortunate in corporate life. I was able to access a lot of development capabilities. But outside of that, I've invested in two areas. One is in the skills. So how do you keep yourself current? Because again, it's not once and done. It's a constant evolution to keep on top of capabilities in that way. But also in leadership as well. Because, as I think probably you've gathered, and anyway, this is something talking about leadership, there is a great deal of leadership that you can access, different thoughts, different ideas, and so on and so forth. So those are the two areas. And so I do try to do at least 2 or 3 things formally per year. But the other thing as well is, and I don't know what you find, but there's so much that you can access on YouTube now.
Yes. It's a good learning, and I think also on LinkedIn they have a lot of different pieces of information that you can get. But LinkedIn is really good.
It's good, and then there are also a lot of webinars. So perhaps not so much on the leadership, but certainly on the skills side and what's current in terms of business development, which is part of the area that my consultancy works in. So those are the sort of things that I do.
So that you have to, I suppose, to stay current, you have to invest a lot of time into making yourself, into going through YouTube videos.
I'm sort of reacting a bit to some of the thoughts that are coming into my mind. But one of the other things as well is I think that if you're going to be good at anything, but as we're talking about leadership, you have to have curiosity. You have to be curious. I'm making that quite a statement there. And if you are not curious, I'm very curious by nature. They say curiosity kills the cat. So you've got to be a bit careful about how you take that curiosity forward, because sometimes it can be a bit, or perceived as being a bit intrusive, right? But I think even if you're not curious by nature, you have to develop a capability to be curious.
Yes.
Because if you're curious, you'll find out things. You'll ask that question. You'll, say, well, that's interesting. Why do you do that, or why did you say that?
And I think it also helps you learn, because
That's
every
right.
time you try and investigate something,
Yes.
you learn something because you've opened your mind.
You sort of think, I wonder why that's like that.
Yes, and that helps, I guess. And what's about the biggest challenges that you've had to overcome?
Well, I would, I thought about this because you did ask me to think about this in advance. I would say pointless politics. One of the things that when you're running a small organisation, which relatively speaking I do now, you don't really have the time.
That's correct.
For politics.
Yes.
But in a big organisation, a lot of people spend a lot of time politicking about this, that and the other, which has got nothing to do with the productivity of the job, but everything to do with, I don't know, self-promotion or whatever, and it's debilitating in the extreme.
Yes.
So that I have found personally very challenging. And I think the other thing is, talk and no action.
Okay.
Deliverability is critical. Talk is cheap, isn't it?
Yes.
This is easy. Well, relatively speaking, it's easy. But the difficult bit is actually making it happen.
Yes.
How do you make it happen? In fact, one of my first bosses used to say to me, "Well, John, just make it happen." This wasn't Roy Salvador, it was somebody else. Just make it happen. And I used to say, "Well, how?" Well, just make it happen. Just make it happen.
Yes.
But what was really being got at here is deliverability and delivering rather is so critical. So that's I would say those two things: pointless politicking and talk and no action.
So what do you do to look after yourself? Because you're always busy working, but obviously you want to take time out. And what do you do?
Well, what do I do? One of the things that I do is, and this hasn't always been the case. Okay, so this is part of my learning and implementation of what I've been learning, is to say there's a working week, and weekends I don't work.
So John, where is your focus now, and where do you plan to be in a few years' time? So should we take the first part of the question? What is your focus at the moment?
Well, my focus at the moment, it won't come as any surprise to you from what I've just been saying, that my family is. So, to support. Now, I don't necessarily mean financially, but to be there, on the end of a phone, to go and visit, and I think that's where that focus comes. It gives something to them. They know that they can, doesn't matter what it is, doesn't matter what it is, they can be in the worst trouble in the world. I'm their father, so they can't come to me. Who else can they go to? So they know that.
Yes.
So hopefully they get something out of that, sounding board or whatever. But I get something out of it as well. And in fact, one of the ways that I learn is through their experiences, because they all go and do different things, and I think, gosh, I never even knew that could be done. So that's a key focus. But we also have to, earn the old spondulix.
Yes.
So the focus is very much on the software business. I think I mentioned to you at the beginning of the talk. And the software business is designed, it's a subscription service, and it's designed to be able to generate revenues without necessarily having to be 9 to 5. Yes,
so your passive income.
Well, yes. I mean, clearly there has to be focus on the business and focus on the customers and making certain that they're getting the right value for it.
Yes.
But their subscription is a 24/7
Is the ongoing
so
piece.
it's an ongoing piece. So that's if you like where the two focuses are.
And what one piece of lesson or advice would you like to share from your experience? You can provide a lesson and advice.
And advice, can I?
I'm sure there's a lot of wisdom that you've gained throughout the years.
Well, I don't know that. I don't think I've ever acquired wisdom. But I would say one of the biggest lessons is trust your instincts. And particularly in today's world of data, everything is data. It's got to be data-driven, data this, data the other, digital, whatever.
Yeah.
But this is well developed in all of us.
Yes.
And there's something, and you can read lots of books about this, but at the end of the day, there's something in us that it drives that. Is it the fight, flight, or freeze?
Free, yeah.
And we have to trust to that.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's trusting your guts, isn't it?
Trust it. Yes, yeah. That's how it can be said as well. Mm-hmm. So I think there's that piece as well.
Yeah.
And then from the advice, act according to your integrity, not what other people expect.
To be congruent to who you are.
Yeah. Don't do this to be a people pleaser. No. It's very easy. We like to please people. I mean, most people like to be pleasing with others.
Yes.
But that shouldn't be in conflict with whatever you think is integrity to your own value system, I suppose.
Okay then, John. So what do you do to look after yourself? I know you work and you're very busy.
Yeah.
So over the years, as the business has grown, what do you
do to look after myself? Well, I think, and this is something I've had to learn. Right? Mm-hmm. Okay. So I haven't always been in this mode, but I say, well, there's a working period. Mm-hmm. Let's say the normal working week, Monday to Friday.
Yeah.
But at weekends is switch off time. Mm-hmm. And if I do have to work at all, then it's on a Saturday morning till 1 o'clock.
And that's your cut off.
That's cut off.
Okay.
And I have learned, probably the hard way, that if you just carry on that, I mean, I enjoy what I do, so a lot of the time it doesn't really work, but the danger is it becomes, if for those of us who, well, in fact, actually, it's coming back, isn't it? Vinyl records. Okay, so if you just have the needle on the same groove the whole time, it doesn't wear out and blow the rest of the record apart. Yeah. So that's a key piece, is to be very disciplined, and it's exceedingly difficult today. Technology doesn't sleep.
Because you're connected all the time.
Because you're connected all the time. So one of the things that I've said to my teams, and I run, teams, which I do through my interim management practice, I say, we don't do emails at weekends.
Okay. It's a good practice to put in.
You do, place. If you send me an email at the weekend, I ain't going to respond to it any more than I expect you to respond to anything if I send it, because that we have to find ways to physically switch off. That wasn't the case in my father's day, because, once you went out of the office, how do you get in touch with anybody?
Of course.
Yeah. Yes. But here, so we have to be very disciplined about that. So that's point one. That's laboured a bit. I also like to, and this is increasingly the case now, it's very much in the news, isn't it? What you eat, because you are what you eat. So I'm trying to be a lot more particular. Now, this isn't about being vegan or vegetarian or non-meating or meat-eating or anything. It's just saying, where does the food come from and what's it got in it?
Yes.
And then not to eat so much. You don't need to eat as much as you, well, at least.
A lot of the times you eat because you see food rather than because
what's that? The seafood diet. Yeah. I see food and I eat it. So I'm very careful about the diet. Exercise. Yeah. Now, I've never been a great one, for sort of running 5 marathons before breakfast and all that kind of stuff. So, but cycling, which I really enjoy, and a bit of gym work, and a bit of muscles going and all the rest of it. And the other thing as well is that over and above everything, family first.
Yes.
I used to put my work first. And the family, I would say the family probably suffered. Certainly I suffered.
Yeah. I think that's really an important point, that we do put our family first because they are key to our well-being. Well, wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I mean, it's an old cliche, isn't it? Nobody got on their deathbed and said, I wish I'd spent more time working. Most people say, I wish I spent more time with my personal relationships or my family or whatever it may be. So I think that is a very critical thing.
Okay. Yeah. And what about your focus? Where is your focus now, and where do you plan to be in the next few years?
Well, good question. I think it won't surprise you, given what I've just said, that my family is my focus.
So, thank you, John, for sharing your experience with us. It's been fascinating listening to it, and it's been really interesting.
Well, thank you very much indeed, Amy, and I really enjoyed it as well.
Yeah. So, thank you for joining us. What I will do is, below the video, I will put a link to John's business, so please go in and have a look. I hope you've enjoyed the interview as much as I've enjoyed interviewing John. and there will be more videos coming up, so do please come back and take another look.